Reese receives her 8th tech, which will prohibit her from playing against the Indiana Fever. And 2, she's in some pretty hot water with her teammates about the Chicago Tribune said. I will read you some of the excerpts, which does kind of not make her team look good. One of which say, "We can't rely on Courtney," that's Courtney Vandersloot, "to come back at the age that she's at. I know she'll be a great asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, somebody who's been playing the game and is willing to compete for a championship and has done it before." Some of the other stuff that she said was also pretty bad. Like, I'm not settling for the same we did this year. We have to get good players. We have to get great players. That's a non-negotiable for me. I am willing and wanting to play with the best, and however I can help to get the best here, that's what I'm gonna do this offseason. So it's going to be very, very important this offseason to make sure that we attract the best of the best, because we can't settle for what we have this year.
Hold on tight, WNBA fans, because things just got real. Angel Reese, one of the league's biggest stars, has found herself in the middle of a firestorm, and this time, it's not just about her performance on the court. No, this time it's about a punishment so bizarre it's making the entire basketball world do a double take. A suspension for Angel Reese? Sure, but here's the twist: it's not for a full game. Not even for a full half. It's just half of a game. Yeah, you heard that right, half a game. What in the world is going on with the Chicago Sky? This isn't your typical suspension, and trust me, it's turning into one of the most talked about incidents in WNBA history. Is this a sign of a fractured team, a weak front office, or a league that's completely lost its way? Grab your popcorn, because we're diving into all the juicy details and the fallout that's making headlines across the sport.
Angel Reese's day. Basically, her entire team feels attacked by her from comments that she made in the Chicago Tribune article. This is what Front Office Sports is reporting. According to the report, Reese said she doesn't believe her teammates Rachel Bannum or Haley Van Lith are capable of leading a playoff team. Guard Ariel Atkins is another player on the Sky's roster with WNBA championship experience. "We are aware of it," Marsh said. Marsh is actually head coach of the Chicago Sky, and we're addressing it in-house as currently speaking. That's where we're staying right now.
Let's start with the most absurd part of all, the punishment. A half-game suspension. Normally, a suspension carries weight. It means a team will miss their player for a full game, sending a strong message. But this? A half game? That's the kind of thing you'd expect for a player who was late to practice, not for a superstar in the middle of a season. A punishment that doesn't even keep a player off the court for an entire game sends the message that the team isn't fully committed to discipline. It looks more like an attempt at damage control than a real response to a major issue. But why is this happening in the first place? The Sky say it's in response to Angel Reese's public comments, but the whole thing reeks of indecision. If you're going to suspend someone, make it count. Otherwise, you risk looking weak, and that's exactly what the Chicago Sky have done. This isn't a strong, confident franchise showing it has control over its players. This is a franchise that's failing to make a decision, letting its biggest star walk all over the organization's image. It's like they're playing a game of let's pretend this never happened instead of dealing with the real issues at hand. And in sports, indecision doesn't just affect your locker room, it erodes trust and respect across the board. Now, let's talk about what really set this whole thing off: Angel Reese's comments.
"I'd like to be here for the rest of my career, but if things don't pan out, obviously I might have to move in a different direction and do what's best for me." Her saying we can't settle for what we have this year, that is basically like a slap in the face to Becca Allen. That is a slap in the face to Rachel Bannum. That is a slap in the face to Ariel Atkins. And here's another quote.
What was meant to be a candid look at the Chicago Sky's struggles quickly escalated into a public disaster. In her interview, Reese didn't just criticize her team in vague terms. No, she went straight for the jugular. She called out two of her teammates by name, Rachel Bannum and Haley Van Lith, saying she didn't believe they had the leadership to take the team to the playoffs. She even stated that the whole team needed a total overhaul, with only two players safe for next season, herself and Camila Cardardoso. The fallout? Immediate and intense. Her teammates were rattled, the coaching staff was caught off guard, and the front office was left scrambling to figure out how to manage the situation. A team meeting was called. Players were expected to confront Reese, and tensions were sky high. What Reese did wasn't just a misstep, it was like throwing a match into a room full of gasoline. And here's where the Sky's leadership dropped the the ball. Instead of addressing the issue head-on, they gave a half-hearted suspension that did nothing to resolve the chaos. In fact, it only added to it. It's clear that this wasn't just a case of frustration. This was a powder keg that was bound to explode, and now it's all over the headlines. So, what did Angel Reese do after the storm she ignited? She apologized. But here's the catch. Was it enough? Reese claimed that her frustration wasn't directed at her teammates, but rather at herself.
I don't think I'm frustrated. I probably am frustrated myself right now. I think the language is taken out of context, and I really didn't intentionally mean to put down my teammates because they've been through this with me throughout the whole year. They busted their eyes, just how I busted my eyes. They showed up for me through thick and thin and in the locker room when nobody could see anything. So I would apologize to my teammates, which I already have, about the article and how it was misconstrued, about what was said, and I just have to be better with my language because I know it's not the message, it's the messenger, and understanding what I say can be taken any kind of way, so I just have to really be better and grow from this.
She expressed regret over her comments, saying that she didn't mean to attack her team. But here's the thing, once those words are out there, it's too late to take them back. The damage to the locker room dynamic was already done. Apologies in sports are a tricky thing. They can be powerful, but they can also feel like a PR move, and that's exactly how Reese's apology came across. She quickly shifted the blame, saying her words were taken out of context. But let's face it, when you single out your teammates publicly and suggest the entire team needs to be overhauled, you can't just wave it off as a misunderstanding. The trust in the locker room has been shattered. You can't just mend that with a few words and a promise to do better. This isn't the first time Reese has stirred the pot. Her brand is built on controversy. But here's the problem. Controversy works when you're winning. When you're struggling, it only makes things worse. Let's face it, apologizing after throwing your teammates under the bus in front of the world doesn't just erase the damage done. After the fallout from her comments, Angel Reese did what any player in hot water would do. She apologized. But here's the thing, this apology felt more like a PR move than a heartfelt regret. Reese claimed her words were taken out of context, that she wasn't trying to attack her teammates, but let's be real, this was a direct shot at them. Sure, she said she was frustrated with herself, not the team, but when you go public with harsh criticism of your teammates, naming names, calling out leadership, it's hard to undo that damage with a few lines of text or a quick speech. This wasn't just a casual comment, this was a locker room explosion caught on tape for everyone to see. And here's the kicker, Angel Reese has a history of stirring up drama, whether it's at LSU or now with the Chicago Sky. Her brand has always been about being outspoken, controversial, and unapologetically herself. But there's a cost to that, especially when your team is struggling. Drama might sell headlines, but it doesn't always lead to wins. Reese could have shown leadership by addressing the team directly, behind closed doors, and owning up to her actions. But instead, we got an apology that felt more like a band-aid on a wound that needed stitches. Now, let's talk about the double standard that's clearly unfolding within the Chicago Sky's front office. Earlier this season, Chicago's general manager publicly called out Angel Reese, saying she needed to step up and do more for the team. Guess what happened to him? Nothing. No suspension. No consequences. But when Reese turns around and expresses frustration with her teammates, what happens? A half-game suspension. That's not just a double standard, it's a slap in the face to the players who are expected to fall in line without being given the same treatment. This inconsistency in how the team is handling their star player speaks volumes about their leadership or lack thereof. By issuing a half-game suspension, the front office is sending a message that only certain people are held accountable. When the GM publicly criticizes Reese, it's okay, but when she fires back with her own criticism, suddenly, she gets punished. That's a dangerous game to play. If you're going to hold one player accountable, then everyone should be held to the same standard. But Chicago's mixed signals are only fueling resentment and division within the locker room. The lack of clear leadership from the top makes it impossible for this team to grow. How can any player trust the system when it feels like the rules change depending on who you are? The Chicago Sky are in full crisis mode, and it's all unfolding in front of the world. A half-game suspension for Angel Reese is the latest chapter in this ongoing saga, and it's not just the fans who are laughing, so are the media. ESPN, AP, every major outlet is covering this story, but not for the right reasons. This isn't about basketball strategy or how the Sky plan to turn their season around. It's about a weak front office, a fractured locker room, and a franchise that has completely lost control. A full suspension, or no suspension at all, would have been a stronger move. But this is the kind of decision that gets ridiculed. When a star player gets punished for half a game, it's not about discipline, it's about indecision. Chicago's inability to commit to a clear course of action only makes them look worse. And it's not just the players who are affected. Fans are watching, and they're not buying what the Sky are selling. Instead of focusing on the future and building for the next season, Chicago is caught up in a media circus that makes their season look even worse than it already is. It's a public relations disaster. The fans want stability and direction, not a franchise that looks like it's flailing from one crisis to the next. If Chicago doesn't figure out how to handle this situation, it could be the end of Angel Reese's time with the Sky. So, what's the takeaway here? The half-game suspension isn't just embarrassing for the Sky, it's embarrassing for the entire WNBA. The league needs strong leadership, consistency, and clarity. What they're getting right now is a circus, and that's not something any franchise can afford, especially one that's supposed to be competing at the highest level. The Chicago Sky need to decide if they're ready to step up, take control, and give their players the guidance they need, because right now, the only thing they're leading is chaos.